Welcome everyone to episode 14 of Flashback Royal Rumble. This time around we're going to be reviewing both the 2002 Royal Rumble and the 2003 Royal Rumble events. Alright, let's get it started. First off, we'll do the 2002 Royal Rumble event. Overall, it was a good show, nothing really spectacular. Honestly, I don't think it's worth going on your way to see, but it was, for what it was good. The opening contest, which saw the Dudleys take on Spike Dudley and Taz for the WWF Tag Team Championship, in which Spike and Taz retained the tag belts. It was short but good. It lasted about 5 minutes, but in those 5 minutes it was a good fast-paced action. It was alright. The next contest, which was the Intercontinental title match, in which Edge defended the Intercontinental title against William Regal. William Regal uses the brass knucks in order to become the new Intercontinental Champion. Both guys are great workers, but in this one it wasn't really spectacular, and it was okay at best. The Women's Championship match that followed, that saw Trish Stratus defend her women's title against Jazz, with Jacqueline being the referee, in which Trish won, by the way. This was coming at a time where Trish was barely stepping up on her own as a worker. She wasn't really quite there yet in terms of being a good lady wrestler, but Jazz being there definitely helped a lot. Next up was the street fight between Ric Flair and Vince McMahon. This was when Vince McMahon and Ric Flair were already co-owners of the WWF, and for a street fight, it wasn't really that good. It was okay, but honestly, I've seen better street fights than that. Overall, this would lead to Vince McMahon bringing in the NWO, which would cause, and then, of course, after that, we would have the brand split, in which Ric Flair would take over Raw and Vince would take over SmackDown, and the rest, as they say, would be history. Up next was the undisputed WWF Championship match between Chris Jericho and The Rock. Jericho ends up winning with a roll-up with his feet on the ropes. The match itself was okay. The finish I wasn't really too crazy about. I mean, at this point, Jericho was already being seen like a paper champion. Seeing though, I mean, it seems like the only way he could win is either by interference or cheating, which to me, Jericho was a much better worker than that, but it happens, and we'll move on. And finally, the main event of the 2002 Royal Rumble was the Royal Rumble match. This was the return of Triple H after months of healing his quadricep injury. He returns for the pay-per-view for the first time in about 8 months, and ends up winning the match, and thus going to WrestleMania 18. Overall, this was a good Royal Rumble match. Time seemed to flow by. The spots where Austin and Triple H were pretty good. Then we saw the famous or infamous, however you want to look at it, of Maven eliminating The Undertaker, who was definitely the top veteran at the time, and it was definitely a shocking moment. I mean, here comes this rookie Maven, who eliminates a veteran like The Undertaker in surprising fashion, and this would of course lead to the Maven-Undertaker feud, which not many remember, and I don't blame you. But it happened. Anyway, overall, the 2002 Royal Rumble event was good, but not spectacular. Not worth going out of your way to see, but if you happen to see it, then good for you. Okay, we now move on to the 2003 Royal Rumble event. Overall, this one was a little bit better than the 2002 Royal Rumble. There were a couple of matches to me that were really outstanding, and we'll get to those in a bit. First off, the show kicked off with Brock Lesnar and The Big Show, with the winner getting the number 29 spot in the Rumble match later on the night. To be quite honest, their matchup at the 2002 Survivor Series was better than this one. There was a few decent spots. There was some botched ones. That F5 that Big Show took was not as good as the one back in Survivor Series, but overall it was a decent match. Then there was the World Tag Team Championship match between Lance Storm and William Regal taking on the Dudleys, in which the Dudleys became the new tag team champions. For what it was pretty good. But what I didn't get was, why have the Dudleys win the tag team titles if they were going to drop them back to Storm and Regal the very next night on Raw, which is what happened. If they decided to go down that road, then why bother putting the belts on the Dudleys in the first place? Again, this is something, honestly, it just seems illogical in my opinion. Anyways, the next matchup, Dawn Marie taking on Tori Wilson. Okay, this came about when Dawn Marie started dating Tori Wilson's father. Dawn Marie and Al Wilson, the name of the father, ends up getting married, and Al Wilson dies in the honeymoon, and boom, and now this feud comes to fruition on this night. And finally it did. The matchup was not good at all. I mean, honestly, it was what you expect in a today's Divas match. I'll just say that I'm glad the feud was over and that this match wasn't as long as it was. And let's move. Then there was the World Heavyweight Championship match. Triple H defending the World Championship against Scott Steiner. Oh, and before I go on, Brock Lesnar won the match, and Tori Wilson won her match. Anyway, now back to the world title match. Again, it's another one of those. For what it was okay. Triple H did what he could to try to carry Steiner to a good match, but it wasn't there. Their matchup next month at No Way Out would be a lot better. Pardon me. Would be a lot better in my opinion. But as far as this match goes, it was okay. Both guys did what they could, but it didn't deliver in my opinion. Next was the WWE Championship match between Kurt Angle and the challenger Chris Benoit. Now, these guys are always capable of putting on a good match, especially with each other. And this was definitely no exception, because these guys went out there and they delivered. Definitely the match of the night, and quite possibly the match of 2003. And to go a little further, possibly one of the greatest world title matches in WWE history. I'll go as far as to say that. They went out there. This is definitely the show stealer, definitely the match of the night, and definitely a great way to show talent. And you could definitely tell on this night that Chris Benoit was on his way to be a main event player. And finally, we have the main event. Kurt Angle retains the WWE title with the ankle lock. Sorry. Anyway, the main event of the 2003 Royal Rumble match, the Royal Rumble event was the 2003 Royal Rumble match. Now, if Chris Benoit and Kurt Angle were the match of the night, the 2003 Royal Rumble match was just a step below. I really love the opening segment with Christian coming out as disguised as Jericho, and then Jericho sneaking up behind him and eliminating Shawn Michaels, who was the number 1 entrant, and Jericho was the number 2 entrant. Jericho definitely had a great showing. He was definitely the star of the 2003 Royal Rumble match. Of course, Shawn Michaels comes in, eliminates Jericho, which sets up their matchup for WrestleMania 19. And then Brock Lesnar who was the 29th entrant, who also had a match earlier in the night, would eliminate The Undertaker, I believe, to go on to WrestleMania 19 challenge Kurt Angle. Overall, the 2003 Royal Rumble match was a little bit better than last year's Royal Rumble match, which was the 2002 Royal Rumble event. A couple of matches, the WWE title match and the Royal Rumble match, definitely were the matches of the night. And I would recommend seeing this event just for those 2 matches alone. The other matches I can do without. Okay, that'll do it here. Don't forget to leave a comment. You can subscribe to my channel and follow me on Twitter at JJMWWE89. And until we meet again, take care, y'all.